My brain is still buzzing from Game 1. Welcome to From Center Ice. My name is Courtney, and I am here to recap Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final between the Colorado Avalanche and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, I had to change up my background just a little bit because I did have a Rangers jersey up there before, and I don't have a Tampa Bay Lightning jersey, so I went with Brandon Hagel, but it is a Blackhawks jersey, so you're just gonna have to deal with that. It's the best I could do, but I also have a Kadri jersey up there from the Maple Leafs, so maybe it works out a bit. It's consistent, at least. Game 1 was on Wednesday, and we were treated to an absolute delight of an opening game to this Stanley Cup Final. You have two absolutely fantastic hockey teams going at it with first place in the West, the Colorado Avalanche, and the two-time reigning Stanley Cup champs in the Tampa Bay Lightning out east. Both teams know how to score goals, both teams know how to win games. You have some dynamic offensive talent out west with the Avs, with Nathan MacKinnon, Cale, Makar, Mikko, Rantanen, and their depth scoring has been absolutely clutch for them in the playoffs so far between Artturi, Lehkonen, Valeri, Nichushkin, JT Compher, and both goaltenders have come in and won games more often than not, since they have only lost 2 in the playoffs so far. Darcy Kuemper is the starting goaltender for the Avalanche, but in the first round he took a stick to the eye, so he missed some time there, not a lot of time, but some. And then in Game 1 against the Edmonton Oilers, he went down in that game with an upper body injury about halfway through, so enter Pavel Francouz. He came in and played the rest of the Western Conference Final, obviously winning it for Colorado. Now they have both goaltenders. Darcy Kuemper is back and healthy, and he was in net in Game 1. And then out east, I mean, what more can you really say about the Tampa Bay Lightning? And it all starts from the back end. They have the best goaltender in the world in Andrei Vasilevsky. On defense, they have Victor Hedman, who absolutely nobody wants to play against. He's big, he has a mean streak sometimes, and he can put up points. He's really good at scoring goals in the last minute of periods or games, which is really frustrating because he's done it a few times on the Blackhawks. And then up front, where do you even start? They're led by their captain, Steven Stamkos. And then, oh yeah, they got that guy on the right wing in Nikita Kucherov. Darcy Kuemper's not the only player who came back from injury for the Stanley Cup Final. On the Tampa Bay side, they got Brayden Point back, one of the best centers in the NHL. And they have one of the blooming best two-way centers in the NHL in Anthony Cirelli. And if you don't have those guys doing something, there's Ondřej Palat, there's Alex Killorn. One of their pickups at the trade deadline, Nick Paul, who they got from the Ottawa Senators, he's come in and contributed a ton of goals in the playoffs. 2 very memorable ones against the Toronto Maple Leafs. We just won't talk about that. And the other deadline acquisition in Brandon Hagel from my Blackhawks. Maybe he hasn't put up as many points as Lightning fans would want him to, and maybe as he did in Chicago, but he has gotten a few, and I think in that first round against Toronto, he played extremely well. He was on that line with Nick Paul, and you just felt whenever they were on the ice, something was going to happen. A greasy goal was going to go in. Against Florida, he got a bit banged up, blocking a shot there in Game 4. And then against the Rangers, he also blocked another shot and got banged up again. So he's definitely playing injured now, but he's still grinding away along the boards. And that is something that's really stand out about Hagel's game. The points and the goals for him will come. I think I said it on either the Cozy Cast or one of the other happy hours, but he's produced at every stop he's made along the way in his career. So he's not just going to be some guy you throw out on the ice and he will kill off some time on a shift and then get off while not producing anything. The points will come. It took a bit for it to happen in Chicago as well, and then they just didn't stop coming. So it might not happen in the playoffs since we are almost done with them, but you can count on it next year. You should see a bit more production from him. But now I'm off on a rant about Brandon Hagel because I miss him. All of that to say, both of these teams have absolutely fantastic rosters that any team in the league should be envious of. And both of them are still playing very high levels of hockey, even though we are 4 rounds into the playoffs, even though their series have been tough. If the rest of the Stanley Cup Final is anything like Game 1 was, this could go down as one of the best Stanley Cup Finals in NHL history. It's just a lot of fun to watch. So how about we talk about the goals that were scored, since that's the most fun part of hockey. I mean, being a goalie fan, I also love big saves and defensive games. But who doesn't get excited when your team scores a goal? So, first period of the Stanley Cup Final. It's been over 20 years since the Colorado Avalanche have been here, and it's been about a year since Tampa Bay has been here. But anyway, 7 minutes and 47 seconds into the first period, Bowen Byram breaks into the offensive zone down the middle of the ice. He dishes the puck off to Mikko Rantanen at the left point. After he does so, he cuts down deep into the zone to become an offensive option. And that's a big strength of the Avalanche, their defense activating and really getting involved in the offense. We saw it a lot, maybe a bit too much there in Game 1 at times. There was one shift where I believe it was Erik Johnson, maybe it was Jack Johnson, it was one of the Johnsons. He was behind Andrei Vasilevsky's net for way too long, and we've already covered how defense hasn't been maybe the brightest spot for the Avalanche in the postseason, so I would worry about getting the defense right first before you try to get the offense right if you're one of these guys. But this is Bowen Byram, so we will forgive that because he has been very good on the defensive end for the Avs as a 21-year-old. So he cuts it in deep. Mikko Rantanen has the puck at the left point. He skates up to just above that left face-off dot and takes a wrist shot toward Andrei Vasilevsky. It appeared like Vasilevsky made the stop, but that puck just snuck between his arm and his body since he was not able to glove it. And the captain, Gabriel Landeskog, crashing the crease, is able to get a stick on that puck, knocking it into the empty net as it laid behind Vasilevsky. 1-0 Colorado. I don't know if you've been following along here or if you are a Lightning fan watching this and you haven't watched my other Avalanche videos, but when the Avs score first, it makes me very nervous, especially after that second round against St. Louis. The Blues scored the first goal in the first 4 games of that series, and the Avs won 3 of those 4. When the Avalanche scored first in Game 5, they lost. St. Louis scored first in Game 6, and guess what happened there? The Avs moved on to the Western Conference Final. So they just seem to be comfortable when they get scored on first and have to really engage that offensive engine and really get chugging and try to get back into the game. So Landeskog scored the first goal of this game, and I think half of my body celebrated and the other half went, oh no. And such is the life of a hockey fan. But 9 minutes and 23 seconds into the first period, so not too long after Landeskog got on the board, Victor Hedman had the puck in their defensive zone. He tried to clear it up the right boards, but Cale Makar was pressuring his outlet pass, which caused him to not get the puck, and Nathan MacKinnon was able to retrieve that attempted clear at the right point. MacKinnon made a nice quick pass to Valeri Nichushkin in the high slot, who just took a wrist shot toward Vasilevsky and it beat him. 2-0 Avalanche. And not a great start for Andrei Vasilevsky. But that's not really anything new for this Tampa Bay team this postseason. They had a bad first game against the Toronto Maple Leafs, then they swept Florida. But then they had a bad first game against the Rangers. So Vasi letting in 2 soft goals here to start the first period didn't seem too out of place. Thankfully for the Lightning, they didn't end up having a bad game here in Game 1 as maybe those other 2 series that I mentioned. And Vasilevsky was able to kind of shut things down there after the first period. But I am not done talking about the first period yet. And now somebody is mowing their lawn, so if you can hear that, I apologize. But 12 minutes and 26 seconds into the first period, off of a seemingly nothing play, Victor Hedman clears the puck out of the defensive zone. It's heading toward Darcy Kuemper's net. It seems like one of those plays where he can just stop it and pass it off to one of his defensemen. But Nick Paul beats Erik Johnson wide to the right and is able to get to that puck first. It seemed like it was going to be a very unfortunate play for him because that puck was bouncing all over the place on him. But as it's bouncing, Darcy Kuemper commits too hard to his left side, and that puck bounces to his right side, and Nick Paul is able to stick with it and just bang that bouncing crazy puck into the open side of the net. 2-1 Avalanche. 17 minutes and 31 seconds into the first period, the Colorado Avalanche have a 2-man advantage. Nathan MacKinnon takes a one-timer from that left circle, which he so often does on the power play, but Cernak is able to block it. Unfortunately for him, Nathan MacKinnon beats him back to the puck, and he is able to send it behind the net to Gabriel Landeskog. Landy takes that puck and sends it to the top of the right circle to Mikko Rantanen, and from there, Mikko Rantanen sends a quick and perfect pass to the tape of Artturi Lehkonen's stick as he is just waiting backdoor on Andrei Vasilevsky's stick side. All he has to do is redirect that puck into the net, and he makes no mistake on it. 3-1 Avalanche. And oh, that was a pretty play. What a pass from Mikko. His second assist of the period. After having a slow first 2 rounds in the postseason, Mikko Rantanen's game has just taken off. And when I say he had a slow first 2 rounds, he was still leading the team in assists. He just maybe wasn't as visible out there on the ice as we would have liked him to be as people rooting for the Avalanche. You can say I am biased all you want because I never claimed to be anything but that. I am rooting for the Avs in this series, but I try to bring a good recap either way. So go ahead. Doesn't bother me, because you're right. But that is how the first period ended, with the Colorado Avalanche having a 3-1 advantage. On to the second period. And there was not a whole lot going on there scoring-wise in the second period, especially in the first half. But 12 minutes and 51 seconds into the second period, Ondřej Palat breaks into the offensive zone up the center of the ice. He passes that puck to his left to Nikita Kucherov, and they switch sides as they are continuing toward Darcy Kuemper. So they've got a 2-on-2 rush. The 2 defenders back are Cale, Makar, and Devon Toews, the 2 guys that you want to have back on defense, especially against guys like Kucherov and Palat. But as they are skating toward the net, Nikita Kucherov absolutely dekes Devon Toews into submission, and he is able to get around him on the right just enough to get the puck behind him to pass it to Palat, who is waiting on the stick side of Darcy Kuemper. And just like Artturi Lehkonen on the last goal, all he has to do is redirect that puck into the empty side of the net, which he does. 3-2 Avalanche. But oh my goodness, what a goal that was! The move that Kucherov was able to pull off on one of the best defensemen, and then to still get that puck over to Palat, because Cale Makar, one of the other best defensemen, could not get a stick on it to stop the pass. Oh, it was just... wow, what a play. Definitely one of the goals of the playoffs, just with how smooth all of that worked, with them entering the zone, crossing over, switching sides, Kucherov pulling that move on Devon Toews, just a beautiful, beautiful deke around him. He got that toe drag going, and yeah, he's definitely known for his shot and his one-timer on the power play from the right circle over there, but he is a very good playmaker as well. That goal was so pretty that even me, someone who is vocally not a fan of the Tampa Bay Lightning, had to watch it back a few times just because it was so pleasing to the eyeballs. So I am sure Tampa fans had one hell of a time with that one. And then less than a minute later, 13 minutes and 39 seconds into the second period, Brandon Hagel has the puck along the right wing boards in the offensive zone. He's able to keep it away from Bowen Byram and Logan O'Connor, and then sends the pass up to the right point to Mikhail Sergachev. And when Sergachev gets the puck, he just takes a wrist shot toward Darcy Kuemper, and it goes post and in. There was a bit of a screen from Darren Helm in front of Kuemper, but there's really no excuse for that puck going in. I mean, credit to Sergachev, it must have been a good shot, but that was potentially a turning point of this game, especially being less than a minute after the last goal. Thankfully, it was not a turning point of this game, but it was tied 3-3, and that's dangerous. Colorado had a 2-0 lead, then they had a 3-1 lead. They had two goal leads in this game, and then it ended up 3-3 tied in the second period. Not great news on the Avs side, but that's something that you're going to have to deal with because, like I said earlier, both of these teams know how to score goals. And that's how the second period ended, tied 3-3. On to the third period. And no goals were scored in the third period, so that's right. This thing went to overtime. Because why not have overtime in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final when it's been an exciting game? I think the Avalanche just knew it would be better for humanity if we got a little bit more of this game. Especially since Patrick Maroon took a delay of game penalty with about 1 minute and 24 seconds to go in regulation. So the Avs had a power play at the end of the third period with a chance to end this thing, but they didn't score on it, so it went to overtime. And I said they knew it would be better for humanity if we got a little bit more of this game, but they clearly didn't want to play with fire too much here, because 1 minute and 23 seconds into overtime, Tampa Bay has the puck in the defending zone. They attempt to clear the puck, and they do. It gets out to the neutral zone, but it ends up on JT Compher's stick right at center ice. He then breaks into the offensive zone, and from the slot, he takes a wrist shot toward Vasilevsky, but it's blocked by Victor Hedman. Fortunately for the Avs, that block goes right out toward the left point where Valeri Nichushkin is coming into the zone. And while everybody expects Nichushkin to just take that quick shot toward the net, no, he had other plans. Instead of shooting the puck, he sent it over to the wide open Andrei Burakovsky in the right circle, with the defenders down to block the shot, with Andrei Vasilevsky set and ready to stop Nichushkin's shot. Burakovsky has a wide open side of the net. And what does he do with that? That's right, he hits it. The Colorado Avalanche win 4-3 in overtime in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. Oh, wow, what a game. And it wasn't even just about the goals. This game had a lot of energy to it. Both of these teams came out to play. Colorado was not tired from having a 9-day break. And while Tampa may have seemed a little bit worn down and tired there in the first period, they definitely gained more energy in the second, especially after they got those 2 goals to tie it. The shots on goal were 38-23 in favor of Colorado, but the Avalanche also blocked 26 shots, and Tampa Bay blocked 25. So lots of offense both ways, and more from Colorado, as you would expect, as that is their game. But the hits! There was so much hitting in this game, and they went in Colorado's favor, 43-40. Now that is not what I would have expected, but hey, good for them. Colorado did have more giveaways than Tampa. It was 6-4. But then you look at the takeaways, and Colorado led that category as well, 17-4. That's just a mind-blowing difference right there. It makes sense though, because one of the biggest points from this game was that the Avalanche forecheck was definitely at the forefront of their game. And when they've had good games throughout this postseason, that has been the case. They are so strong on the forecheck, especially Gabriel, Landeskog, and Artturi Lehkonen. That has stood out from the first round. Not only are they scoring goals and big goals, Lehkonen getting the goal to send them to the final, but they are making it happen by getting in there and going to the dirty areas and fighting for the pucks along the boards. If they can keep that up throughout this series, they're going to be putting themselves in a good spot. Not saying that they're necessarily going to be able to come out and win the whole thing, because we all know this could go either way. And the two-time reigning champs are never going to be an easy out. But the Avalanche looked good in game 1. They just have to come out and keep playing their game. As long as they don't start sitting back defensively, then they should be okay. Now, one would always expect that Andrei Vasilevsky comes out with a better game in game 2 as well, since he just always seems to do that. And you are definitely not always going to get 2 weak goals from him in a game. He's the best goaltender in the world for a reason. And you can expect Stamkos to get a goal or 2, Kucherov to get a goal or 2. So it's not going to be easy for either team, but us as fans, we are going to be treated to some great hockey, if the first game was any indicator. But that's going to be all from me in this video. What did you think of game 1? Are you ready for game 2 tomorrow night? I know I am. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you would like to hear more from me or from Center Ice, you can head on over to FromCenterIce.com. There's links to all the places you can find us over there. If you want to follow along on social media, all of the links to those platforms are down in the description. And go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you haven't done that. Give this video a like, because that would make me so very happy. All of that being said, thank you all so very much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. And let's get ready for game number 2. I will see y'all in the next video. Bye, guys.